Hey guys, Spartan here, and welcome to a video that is probably going to be a mistake. This video is going to be very long, so I recommend watching it in different sittings, not all at once. So this is going to be a tier list for every spell in Noita, because recently I completed my logbook. Almost. I'm missing literally one spell, which is something that I will get around to eventually. And in the background you're going to be hearing the Rayman 3 OST, because for a video this long, I cannot be bothered manually editing in music for this. So, let's start. All of these will be considered in total usefulness, as far as I am aware of how the spells are used. Like, if there's some super niche use for a spell that I miss, write so in the comments. Even though I'm I like to consider myself pretty well informed as to what is useful in this game. So, S tier is going to be the best spells, A is going to be good spells, B is going to be also good spells, but less good, C is going to be not very good spells or niche, and D is going to be the worst. So we start with Acid. Acid is a material spell, which means that it is, it has very good reductions in cast delay and recharge time if you just want to slot it on a wand for that. It's basically a reduced recharge time, except it is a material as well. Acid isn't the most useful material. It does do some really nice damage and can get you trick kills, but it's fine for what it is. It can let you dig out of the Holy Mountain if you get it at the start of the game, so I'll put it in B. It's not the worst thing. Acid Ball is much the same, except Acid Ball is an actual projectile. The downside of Acid Ball is it's slow as hell and very unreliable if you want to actually hit enemies with it, which is a problem because it is primarily, of course, a damaging spell. So, Acid Ball, it's not very good. We'll put it in C for now, but we will probably move that down to D later. Now, Acid Rain. It's like acid, except it's rain. This is actually the one spell I'm missing on my file. It just doesn't show up because it's a static projectile, and it's just kind of rare, I guess. But yeah, like, over 500 hours in Noita, or however much I have, and still haven't seen it. So Acid Rain, it's alright. It is a rain cloud. It's acid. It doesn't really have too much use otherwise, though, so you can go and see with Acid Ball. This is Aiming Arc, which is that the projectile tries to go towards your mouse cursor. This is fine. It is not as good as any of the other homings, except on certain specific spells, but, I mean, for what it is, it's pretty good. If you want to use some projectile, like a Giga Black Hole, this is pretty good on that. So, you can go in B. Pretty useful. First of all, you find these early on in the game. They push things, they can be combined with a rock to get some trick kills. It's pretty good. So, yeah. I'll put it in A tier because you do get it early on in the run, and with unlimited casts and rock, it is pretty good for most of the game, actually. Until you come across, like, spiders, but, yeah. All-Seeing Eye. You see, All-Seeing Eye is nice. The issue with it is it doesn't work everywhere. Like, I'm pretty sure that in, like, the Looky layer, and, of course it doesn't work in the Dark Passage, the watery cave. It is fairly nice for when you get it, though. It just has very, limited uses otherwise. Early game, however, it can very easily help you gain extra HP, and extra HP in the early game matters a lot. So you can go in B. Alpha. I believe Alpha is copy a projectile, the first in the wand. Or was that Sigma? Actually, no, I think this was the first one. And the best ones are, of course, Gamma and Alpha. Because copying a black hole is the best digging tool in this game. So Alpha goes in S tier for cheesing unlimited black holes, because unlimited spells doesn't actually work for black hole. This is a void enemy. It's not as bad as you'd think, but it isn't very good still. So, yeah, your shot to void enemies, this is used for things you don't want to hit enemies with, such as something that has a plasma beam orbit on it. So you can hover near an enemy, but not actually touch it. Like, if you combine this with a triplicate bolt, plasma beam, orbit, then it can be good, but it isn't great. Also, why is the quality for this image a lot lower than everything else? I don't know. This is... Is this avoiding arc? No, this is avoiding arc. Hang on, I'm going to look up what this spell is real quick. No, this is avoiding arc. And this is like floating arc. Odd, because this list is done alphabetically, but like not entirely, because like all these are next to each other. But yeah, avoiding arc is... It's not really anything, really. It helps you avoid the wall if you want something to specifically not hit a wall. Like if you're trying to run a boomerang spell healing wand in a tight space. In which case, I guess it does have uses. But it doesn't really do anything else. Lightning arc. Very deadly. Potential of very high damage to whatever you run with this. So, I'm actually gonna quick fire run through all these. This is B because it does good damage. This is C because fire isn't exactly useful. Gunpowder is also C because it isn't as useful. And poison I'm actually gonna put in D because poison is a very annoying material. And while it can get trick kills, it is way too slow for that. So this is floating arc. The projectile floats above the ground. It's also kind of useful in the same vein as that. So we'll put it here. We'll try to make an L, because loser talk. This is arrow. Arrow is just an arrow. It's like magic arrow, but not magic. It does, like, help remove recoil from the wand, and it reduces spread by, like, 20%, which is huge if you have a big spread wand. You can just slot this on there and help with that. So, in that case, it's B. It's basically just a utility spell, really. This is another homing. Here's the thing. A lot of the homings just do very, dissimilar things. They all try to home in, but not a lot of them are good. So here's the wiki, for instance. Like, one of these is auto-aim, which makes a projectile turns towards the nearest visible enemy. And this is rotate towards foes, which makes a projectile turn towards your foes. I couldn't tell the difference between these two if you held a gun to my head. Like, they're both relatively the similar homing. And they're both not the best homing, so they can go in B tier because homing is just really good. Ball lightning. Ball lightning is not very good. I've tried to use this multiple times, and the ball lightning just goes never far enough, and it just never does enough damage to be, like, worth it. Like, the earliest I've managed to find this is in the fungal caverns, and of course inside the fungal caverns itself it's useless because of the humidity modifier, but even outside it's pretty just garbaggio. So yeah, don't use ball lightning. Black hole and black hole with timer are both S tier because they're infinite digging. Like, I don't even need to say anything about this, they're just that good. Giga Black Hole can also dig, albeit very slowly. In fact, it's more of a damage spell than not. So, yeah. Not as good, but you can still find use for it. Omega Black Hole can also be used for digging, and it is in fact better. The obvious difference being that you have to be very careful when using Omega Black Hole, because it can easily kill you. It can also kill pretty much whatever you throw it at. I personally love throwing this at Connoisseur of Wands, even though the last time I did it, it killed me in a god run, but still, it's a pretty fun spell if you can unlock it. Like, you have to make the sun and the moon, no, the sun and the dark sun to do it, but yeah, it's It's pretty fun. So next is Blood. Blood is another spell, like water and acid and that like that. I'm putting this in C tier instead of B tier because Blood is the only one that has a cast limit. It has 300 uses, which is a lot, but when you're only getting 1 pixel of blood per use, then it's... ugh. Also, Blood is just not a status that really matters on giving it to enemies. Like, enemies get increased crit chance from Blood, but the player is naturally immune to crits. So, meh. Of course, the synergy is to use it with crit on bleeding enemies, or bloody enemies. But at that point, you're better off using, like, water or oil, which both work. Blood Rain. Blood Rain is just another spell to get a lot of blood. It can be used for healing, if you have vampirism, I guess, which might matter early game when healing is few and far between, even though vampirism is actually a pretty dog water tier quirk. Not quirk, perk. But yeah, it's better than just the blood spell because you overall get more blood per blood. Unless, of course, you're using the modifier predominantly enemies. But you get plenty more, and you don't need unlimited casts. If we're counting unlimited casts, then this goes up to maybe A tier, but we're not doing that. We're doing spells, not perks. Bloodlust. Bloodlust is A tier. While Bloodlust does make the projectile damage you, it is also a 33 damage increase for, like, no other downside. Of course, you can run this on spells that can't damage you, or spells that are very likely not going to hit you, like a cloud that you can just avoid. And yeah, 33 damage at the start of the game would be really nice. At the start of the game specifically, if you have a digging wand, and you have patience, you can... like, let's say you are in the caves, and... actually, no, the mines. The mines is easier. You're in the mines, you find a digging wand, like a luminous drill. If you have the patience, you can go down, or cross the lava lake in any way you want, be it over or across, grab the tablet, dig through the ground, until you get to Hisi base, and then you can forge the tablet into the stone tablet, take another tablet from anywhere else on the map, walk all the way to the left through the tree, and you can grab both experimental wands, one of which has a Bloodlust on it, and since you can tinker with wands the first time you enter the experimental wand rooms, you can immediately get use of it. That's how I started my runs whenever I got a teleport bolt and a digging tool. And it works. Next is Bloodlust. Bloodlust is S tier. It is basically 3 and a bit, what's it called? Add mana. And it is a slightly better increased recharge time, all in one, for the cost of 4 HP. 4 HP is nothing in Noita. It is so insignificant because of heart duping that you can just use this when you get it. Like, and when you have a healing wand, it's just even better. Like, there is almost no reason not to run this when you find it. And even if you can't use it immediately, you can use it eventually. So yeah, it's incredibly good. Blood to Power is a bit more complicated because it is a big damage buff, but it does take 20% of your health when you use it. Percentage based is a harder sell than just a static number. And if you have, like, super low health from Glass Cannon or something, then this doesn't matter. Like, the damage you get from it is insignificant. But it goes in B tier because by the time you can reliably get Blood to Power, like, this spawns in the work where you can usually find it. Once you get to the work, most likely you have an infinite healing wand. Blood to Acid, it's C tier merely because you can use it with, like, a trigger chainsaw, and you can, like, hit an enemy with it, they'll bleed, and then it'll instantly go to acid and score a trick kill. Other than that, not very useful, because blood is kind of a useful material in this game. Bomb. I want to put bomb in C, but bomb is useful for the Sun quest. Like, there's been times where I've cleared out the world and I need to backtrack because I forgot to grab a bomb for the Sun quest. That has only happened, like, twice, but that's all the time it needs to happen for you to realize that bomb is pretty good. Also, it's a nice digging tool at the start of the game. Like, yeah. Bomb cart, however, isn't as good because it spawns too late, usually. And by that point of the game, you probably don't really need explosives as much. It does do nice damage, and can cause physic kills, but that's about it. Boomerang is useful, because healing wand. Like, you don't need it for a healing wand, but it makes it significantly easier. So, yeah, B. That's it. It's kind of useless for anything else, though. So, bounce spells. Let's quick fire through these. Trash, 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 trash. Has some use. Trash, and very rarely useful. Adding bounces to your spells doesn't matter. Adding, like, some tiny effects that aren't affected by any modifiers to your spells, garbage. Plasma is very high damage, however, so that gets a pass if you stick it on like a bouncy burst. And anything that destroys matter is instantly a lot better than anything else. Bouncy burst goes in A tier because of its synergy with speed ups. Like, you could stack a bunch of speed ups on a bouncy burst. They can deal ridiculous amounts of damage, especially with things like accelerative homing. And you can create a railgun. Also, it's pretty decent early game. You can get it from the starting one, so yeah, it's fine. Bouncy bursts, I'm gonna give these C tier, both of them, because, I mean, they can destroy terrain, and in the start of the game, if you get one of these on, like, the early machine gun ones, the 10-7 or the 7-10, I forget what it's actually called, you can destroy soft terrain with these. They are actually pretty good at that if you spam them. So yeah, they're pretty useful. This is Bullet, aka question mark, question mark, question mark. This doesn't actually spawn anywhere in the world. Like, it is the only cast on the machine gun wand, the actual chain gun wand, that is. And you can sometimes get it from a random drop for a random spell, like the Eye Room. So, yeah, it's something. It does damage. It's not really notable enough to do anything, though. Cement, das concrete, baby. Actually kind of useful. You can make platforms with it, so if you want to, like, make your own structures, it's fun. Quite frankly, I think this is more of a fun spell than it is anything else, but I like it. Cessation, S tier if you know how to use it, but usually it's just A tier. So what does Cessation do? It makes you not exist for a period of time, and you can increase that with extra lifetime. Best use for this, you can reset your debuffs. Most notably with Heart Mage debuff, you can use it with that. So you can easily get your health up to the millions. And surviving the end of everything, because you can't die to end of everything if you're not there. And this helps with the one thing that can most likely kill you, the polymorph shots. Or the Tyke Swabers. Those help as well. Has other uses, you can kill Kiwi with it, but Ambrosia works fine if you know how to do it. So, yep, it's pretty good. Chainbolt. I'm going to show some bias here. I'm putting Chainbolt in A tier, because it spawns really early and it does 25 damage. That is a magic number for a lot of enemies in the early game, especially the Hisi that spawn in the Snowy Chasm. Not Snowy Chasm, the... Is it called the Snowy Chasm? It's called the Snowy Wasteland or something like that. Actually, I can check right now. Let me check. It is called the Snowy Depths. That's what it is. I've been to this game like so many times, and I still don't remember Snowy Depths because there's just too many snowy biomes. But yeah, 25 damage and can potentially hit 4 times, that's 100 damage per shot. Very easy to use, it automatically homes in on enemies. This spell is just insane. If you stick Bloodlust on it, as well, because you can get that early game, then that's a ton of damage, and as long as you don't walk forwards when you're using it, it's pretty damn good. Chainsaw goes in A tier. Chainsaw has insane utility. I don't think it's S tier, but it is an incredibly good spell. It sets the cast delay to 0 between it and the next spell. Combined with things like Wand Refresh, you can easily get, like, some busted garbage, but, like, that's more so a benefit of Wand Refresh than it is this. But Wand Refresh is, like, really good anyway. So, Chainsaw, it's really good. I don't think it's S tier. Like, it's not as good as Black Hole. Like, this is the stupid path. This is not a good one. It's Chaotic Path. That's what it is. It's not good. I don't think I need to explain how not being able to aim your shots is a bad thing. Charm on sludged enemies is also not very good, because sludge is not a thing that you apply to enemies. There's, like, no spells that do that. So it is very much not possible to actually do that unless you've messed with fungal shifts. Chunk of Soil. This is B tier because if you tie Explosion to it, it destroys everything. Like, if you have not tied an Explosion modifier to this spell, then you have not lived the Noita dream. It is fun as all hell. But yeah, it's nice. Does it do much else? No, but it doesn't really need to. It does create ground, though. You want to build your own structures? Email me at this web zone. So these are the circles. I like how they put the elemental ones with the statuses. So Circle of Acid is B, because you can use it to easily dig out of the Holy Mountain, and it spawns like in the early Holy Mountains. Just be careful with it. Circle of Berserkium. I know it's Circle of Fervor, but, like, it's kind of useful, but enemies get it too. You can use it to make enemies berserk each other and attack each other, but it's a bit too situational. Circle of Fire is not very good. It doesn't even, like, do any damage. It's just fire. It also looks pretty lame. Circle of Stillness is A tier. If you want to make a Death Cloud one, Circle of Stillness actually works a lot better. It may only have, like, 10 casts, or 15, however many it was, but it lasts a lot longer than the Cloud spells. Like, it is actually insane. And, of course, it freezes enemies so they can't get away. So as long as you're okay with your enemies being ice, and not actually, like, bleeding, then Circle of Stillness is the way to go. Circle of Vigor is S tier because it's fucking Circle of Vigor. I don't need to explain it. Circle of Buoyancy is B tier, because it is useful for getting things to the mountain altar. I may... nah, it's not A tier, because other than that, it doesn't do anything. You need to use this spell almost exclusively if you want to do the fish quest. Yeah. Circle of Oil. It's oil, it's a material. It can drown enemies. Fire can't. You can set it on fire, it burns the enemies like fire. Circle of Shielding. Not terribly good. Circle of Displacement is bad. This is awful. I hate this spell. I never find it, but yeah. Oh yeah, Circle of Shielding, if I didn't explain it much, it's because it's too unreliable. The shield is not strong enough. If it was 2 layers of shield, it'd be really good, but no, it's just 1. Circle of Electricity is fine. It's no Circle of Stillness, and it can hurt you. Circle of Transmutation and Chaotic Transmutation both go in C tier, because you can use them to get out of the Holy Mountains. And that's basically the only use for it. I mean, I guess you could kill enemies with it, but then again, like, they don't drop gold, and it's hard to, like... It creates a wall that you can't pass either. And Circle of Water is water. It's water. This is Cluster Bolt. Is this actually on screen? I need to check. Yes, it is on screen. I'm going to have to pan the camera down soon. But Cluster Bolt, it does good damage. I don't like Cluster Bolt because it does unavoidable damage to you if you're close. I have died many times using that. You can say skill issue all you want, but deep down you know this is not my fault because it does projectile damage that can hurt you. And you may think, oh, explosive immunity prevents it. It doesn't. That's the trick. This is like Copy Trail. It creates copies of whatever you're casting. It is primarily used to create parallel world travel devices. So I'll put it in B. I think that most of them require this spell, so yeah. It's not incredibly useful otherwise. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have the copy trails and stuff like that, but usually you're using these on spells that have, like, really good effects, and, like, there's not too many of them that are, like... I guess you could use this on, like, Freezing Gaze for damage or something like that, but yeah. Not particularly fantastic. So the crits on Bleeding, Oil, and Wet all go in B because they can be used with the, if you tie a material to them, then they always work. That's just like a little quirk on that. It doesn't matter if the pixel actually touches the enemy, it like automatically just makes it a crit. Basic crits are also going in B. Crit on Burning is going in C because all crits is nice, but having to set an enemy on fire to do this is... yeah, it's a bit harder. And it doesn't, like, work instantly. Venomous Curse. It's B tier. Works on most enemies, it's just a good damage thing. It's just a static, kills enemies over time thing. It's nice. Cursed Sphere. Creates a thundercloud above an opponent's head. It's really good, I guess. Damage Field is nice. I put that in A tier, actually, because it's like curse damage. Not many things can avoid curse damage. At least I think it's curse damage. It may have been changed to projectile damage at a certain update, but, you know, regardless, it hits like a truck on Death Clouds. Infinite damage, I really don't like, actually. Because it's, like, not infinite damage, it's just, like, a damage buff. Put that in C tier because it requires mana. It's fine, but, like, you can do better. Voice crack, Jesus. But yeah, it's not worth the brain power needed to actually use this spell. Damage plus, it's just damage. Damage is nice. Put it in B tier. Could be better. Right, need to scroll down. Random damage. Randomness is not something you want on your wands. Like, this is a Breadmond tier spell. Don't tell Breadmond I said that, but yeah. It's not very good. Null Shot, however. Null Shot goes in A tier. It adds extra insane lifetime to your spells. Very good for black holes. Good for Deadly Heal, because it means it can't hurt you, but it can still heal you if you have, like, piercing. And, yeah, it's just good. Don't know why the quality is so low. Path of Dark Flame, one of the most total badass names for a spell in the game. Unfortunately, it sucks dick. Like, you have this insane name spell, Path of Dark Flame. That's like something a total edgelord would come up with, and they made it, like, super lame. It doesn't do too much, like... I wish this spell was a whole lot better so I could use it, but no, it spawns late in the game. It does semi-decent damage, but it's not affected by, like, any modifiers, because it launches several projectiles. Deadly Heal goes in S tier because it's a healing spell, and it can heal you insane amounts because it's percentage-based healing. The only problem is getting it to hit you. Death Cross. Death Cross is really nice. It makes for a really good Death Wand, not Death Wand, Death Cloud build. And it explodes at the end, so if you're facing enemies from, say, like, the power plant that are resistant to projectile damage, which most modifiers for Death Clouds don't work on, the explosion still gets them. So, yep, pretty useful. Giga Death Cross is worse, because it has limited charges, and it very easily can hurt you, so it's going in C. This is not Necromancy. This is Death Trigger. This is one of those trigger spells, like triggers, timers, and the other one. They're all very useful. I think this one is the not particularly best out of all of them. You know what, I'm going to quickly gun through and do them all. So that one gets B. Where's the timer? should be under T. It looks like an hourglass, yeah, this one. This one also goes there because adding... This is basically like adding triggers to things. Except the actual add trigger is much better because it works on piercing, which means you can cast the same spell many, many times. Where is it? Am I blind? Maybe. It just looks like a big version of the trigger. Like this star. Here it is. Down at the bottom. This goes in... I'm tempted to put it in S tier, but it's just A tier. A tier should be good enough. Alright, right, well, buckle in, because we're half an hour into the video, and we are nowhere near done yet. Decoy. It is a deer, and it's a decoy, and you can use it for parallel world travel, so I'll give it a B. Delayed spellcast. This is actually pretty useful. I'll put it in B. Delaying your spellcasts and doing more of them is nice, especially for things you don't instantly need. Combine it with Plasma Beam to kill enemies with Plasma Beam without risking killing yourself. So yeah, it's decent, I guess. Also, sorry if I forget to cut these out. Destruction. It destroys everything. Well, almost everything, at the cost of your health. It's not as good as it seems, because it has a very hefty mana cost, and it, like, halves your health or something like that. It is, very costly, and by the time you can actually get this spell, you most likely have ones that can just kill everything and the screen anyway. So here we have Digging Blast and Digging Burst. No, Digging Bolt. Digging Blast is pretty much worse because it doesn't actually deal damage. That may sound like an issue, but Digging Bolt being able to deal damage means it has extra utility and you can actually use it, you know, to, of course, kill enemies in close range. And I don't know why Digging Blast is, like, just worse, but it is. It has a bit more range, but that doesn't matter that much. Yeah, it's just biased, but I like Digging Bolt better. Sawblade does good damage at the start of the game, and that's about it. To this day, it's still probably the thing that new players kill themselves with the most. It can go in... You know, I'll put it in B tier. Early on in the run, if you get this, it can be pretty damn useful. What isn't as good is this Sawblade. This Sawblade is evil and wants you dead. It will try to kill you. I feel like that the Noita devs saw Sawblade as one of the original spells and they thought, oh, that's a funny meme. People keep dying to this. Let's make one that's worse. And then later on, they made this piece of shit. But this thing flies and then it homes back in on you. It doesn't actually exactly home in on you, it homes in on where you were when you fired the shot. But still, it's like a boomerang effect. And Omega Sawblade just wants you dead. It homes in on you. Best use for this is to, like, put it on a wand and throw it to an enemy and have that enemy kill themselves with it. So, yeah, it's going in A tier. And I'm not even memeing because it is the most effective way of killing bosses like Tiny. It's pretty much the only way that you can reliably damage something like, the lake boss. I forget the name of it. It's how I killed the lake boss. It's like 4 Omega Sawblades and then a teleport bolt. But yeah, you can use it with Digging too, if you combine it with something like Null Shot and like True Orbit. It's pretty fun in that regard. But yeah, this is actually a really good spell. Just, don't hit yourself with it. Or put it on like your super WMD wand before you die if you know you're gonna die. And have, Cometus give you a new wand and kill himself with it. So, the Divide by spells, they're all really good. Divide by 10 is the best, because by the point you get this, you probably have unlimited spells. 4 is also good enough to put in S tier, and the other 2 can go in A tier. Because 4 is the best that doesn't need all spells, like unlimited spells. 10 is just the best, and these 2 are really good anyway. I don't need to explain it. If you need an explanation on what you need to do with Divide by 10 to actually just make it a good damage wand, put Bloodlust on it. Like, divide by 10 the Bloodlust and not the projectile. And, yeah. that's how you win. Because it adds 330 damage. Like, a bit less than that, but still. Dormant Crystal and with Trigger, these aren't very good. Like, frequently, you know what, the most common thing I see happening with these is lagging the game to death because they put like a copy trail on it or something like that. That has happened many times in Rat Attack mod. Yeah, they're not very good. Like, use Unstable Crystal. Downwards Burst. Bundle. This is actually not that bad. It's not great, but it's a very useful digging tool. It can deal some pretty good damage. The downside is this spell is not affected by any modifiers, because it in itself is a modifier. It goes in C tier. It's useful for what it is, but it has no potential. Dropper Bolt I'm also putting in C, because it's just not reliable enough. It does really good damage, really good digging. Only works in one direction. Flock of Ducks, I'm going to put in B tier, because it's a good vessel for spell modifiers. Like, it's probably the second best. It's a bit chaotic, but then again, some people like that because the projectiles have a very long lifetime. Spell Duplication is S tier. If you don't know what this spell is, it's dropped from Master of Masters, and it doubles everything you put on a wand before it. Yes, including every modifier. Which means it's basically a better Moo, because Moo can duplicate things that you don't want to duplicate, like Drilling Shot, or maybe you only want one copy of Heavy Shot, otherwise the wand gets just destroyed by no speed. And Spell Duplication is, well, it's just a lot better generally, and you can use it to copy actual spells with it. So yeah, it's really nice. Dynamite. I'm tempted to put Dynamite in B, but I think it's just a C tier spell. Like, you get this early game, it's used to blow up stuff. That's about it. Earthquake is D tier because it gets you killed. In fact, what's the worst part about the nuke? It's not the explosion, it's the earthquake it causes afterwards. Yeah, don't use Earthquake. Egg. Egg is good though, Egg is B tier. You need it for the Sun Quest, basically. Unless you are stupid. So yeah, it's an egg. You need unlimited uses to actually use it. Yeah. End of Everything. End of Everything has one use. Actually, no, it's two uses, so I'll put it in B. Not B, A. It spawns big worms, so they can drop health ups. And it spawns a Great Chest. Which, if you're wanting to get the Ruby Amulet, then you obviously need to basically cheat with Noita and use this in a specific spot. But, regardless, it spawns very high level wands. It can spawn, it spawns water stones if you need those. Spawn a bunch of random, like, garbage, but yeah, it is fairly useful. Energy Orb. Now here's a story. Energy Orb was the spell that sold me on the game because I saw somebody digging through like the snowy depths. And I was like, whoa, that looks cool. That's like a really cool spell. It can damage enemies and it just eviscerates the ground. Of course, now I know that was because it was against snow, and snow is incredibly easy to destroy because it's like a half powder. It's like a solid powder. But it still holds a place in my heart. I like it. But it's kind of just C tier. It's really slow, and that's the real issue. Energy Orb with Timer, however, is really nice. Not as good as Trigger. In fact, Trigger may be just straight up worse because of how slow Energy Orb is. But Energy Orb with Timer, it's nice. You can use it to dig in a pinch. And it usually travels just about the right distance. It doesn't like hit a wall or anything. The shield spells, they are both good, actually. This one is, like, almost a lot better than this one, but yeah, having an extra shield, a perk, basically, just on your wand for the cost of some base mana, and you can use it to spell wrap, is really nice. Energy Sphere. I'm gonna put this one in B because you can start with it and it's really good, and this one goes in C tier because it's not a spell you want like a timer on. Essence of Power is a damage increase. Damage increases are always nice, based around how many enemies there are, so it's fine. Expanding Sphere, I feel like sometimes I sleep on this spell because of how long its lifetime is, but by the time I get it, there's usually a whole lot better things. Alright, another speeding up. All of these, not very good. It is too situational to make enemies drunk or slimy. Slimy is a lot easier to do, but like, it's still not that great. Alright, and we'll go through the explosions real quick, because they're all basically the same. Explosion, B tier, it's an explosion. Explosion of Spirits, B tier, it's an explosion. Explosion of Brimstone, B tier, it's an explosion. Giant Explosion. I mean, these are all C, not B. B is because it's actually a good explosion. Explosion of Poison, D tier, because it's fucking poison. Explosion Remover, C tier. It's not an actual explosion spell, it is a modifier. And Explosion of Thunder gets A because it's actually insane damage. It's like one of the highest explosion damages in the game. And it's lightning, so it stun locks enemies. The only downside is this spell is rare as hell because it's a static explosion, not a static explosion, a static spell, which means it doesn't spawn on wands. And yeah, it can kill you, so be careful. Like this, you're most likely not going to find this in a run, but if you do, give it a try. It's nice. Alright, Remove Explosion. Actually, no, this isn't Remove Explosion, this is Concentrated Explosion. I have never actually got this spell to work, even though I've tried it many times. It makes the explosion smaller, but does more damage. I'd put it in D personally, but I may be doing something wrong, so I admit this is C tier. If you know how to use it, it's probably good. This detonates all projectiles that you have cast. It's used for some weird stuff that I don't understand, so I admit, like, it's probably a lot better than I thought it was. However, this used to be a Dormant Crystal Explosion, which specifically detonated dormant crystals. So, yeah, it was a whole lot worse, and then they made it better. Fireball. It's not very good, is it? Like, it's used to kill enemies, but, like, it doesn't dig. That's the main issue with explosions that don't dig. They don't dig. Also, the Fireball casters are not great. I admit normal Fireball caster is better than enemy Fireball caster. Two-way Fireball caster is also kind of good though, because you can have more control over it. Right, Firebolts. This is C, because it's fine. This is C, because it's fine. This one is B tier, because it's actually a really big explosion that does really good damage. And Odd Firebolt. I don't like Odd Firebolt. It tries to match your, like, where you are on the screen vertically, which means you can do some weird stuff with it, but, like, it's not that great. And Firebolt with Trigger is bad because you never want to use this. Firebomb, however, is nice because it's a little tiny digging tool that doesn't actually have a uses cast. So, infinite uses, very easy digging tool. Firebug Swarm. I do not like this spell because it is one of the, like, last 4 spells I had to unlock, and I just randomly found it. Like, I didn't actually, like, find it in a spell spawn or anything like that. I found it in a random store. But that's about me. It is pretty much just the same as Summon Fly and Summon Wasp. And I don't like Firebugs, so I'll put you in D tier. The Flies and the Wasps can go in C tier though. There is a trick using these with a Hollow Egg and a freezing like effect to instantly kill like a whole bunch of enemies like a Death Cloud, which I guess that's nice, but just normal Death Clouds usually just work. This is Firecrackers, it's not good. Fireworks is... it's not particularly good. Fish is actually really good because it's a wisp. It has infinite duration on itself. Problem is that it's an enemy, like it's an actual living thing, so it can get killed So be careful with that, I guess. But otherwise, it's a really good Death Cloud thing if you put some, like, homing on it. And by default, it has piercing, so take that into account as well. Flamethrower spawns too late, does too little. Fly upwards and fly downwards also really suck, because they're not good. Freezing Field, I'm putting this in A, merely because it has a limited uses. If it didn't have limited uses, this would be S tier, because it's insane. It's like 5 projectiles for your 1 modifier. Like, a damage up goes from plus 8 damage to plus 40 damage effectively. They all hit. Really good with homing. It's nice. Summon Friendly Fly, C tier as well. This is Gamma. Gamma is also an S because it copies the last spell on the wand, which is basically Alpha except a bit more controllable. All the Glimmers, they reduce recharge time, and that's all they do. So, they are all going in B. Enjoy this swanky Rayman soundtrack while this happens. Love this OST. It's what I put on sometimes when I'm editing. Glitter Bomb. It's not very good, but it's better than nothing. You can't dig with it. Glittery Burst. I forget if this is the one that can hurt you. I don't think it is. I'll put it in C. Infestation is the one that can hurt you, right? Yeah. Killed by the fact that if you put a modifier on it, it kills you. Glowing Lance does decent damage, but it can hurt you very easily. Glue Ball. Glue Ball you can use to fungal shift with, because eating glue counts as the same as eating weird fungus. Yes, I'm putting fucking glue in B, because you can fungal shift with it. Gold to power is nice. You use it late game when gold doesn't matter, i.e. if you've broken the reroll machines and you don't need to buy anything. It is more damage than pretty much anything else in that regard, but it does cost gold. Arc upwards and arc downwards. Actually, what do these do? Starts with a G. I don't know. Personal gravity fields, really useful on things like Savage and Tunteja. Like, this is a saving grace against Savage and Tunteja, aka Bridge Boss. So it'll go in B. You don't actually know, I'm short-selling it. A is what it deserves. It stops Savage and Tunteja from hitting you, and then if you launch a plasma beam at him, it just kills him, and then you are safe until he dies, in which case he kills you. Grant of Sand. It's useful. Not as useful as it could be. If it had infinite casts, it would be a lot better, but even with infinite casts, it doesn't have infinite, if I recall. But being able to dig through heavy materials easily is kind of nice. Healing Bolt is A tier. It is a somewhat average healing ability. The only problem is the healing is a bit too small. Like, with Healing Bolt, you throw a wand down with only the Healing Bolt to an enemy, they shoot you 20 times, and you heal 100 HP. Like, but one deadly heal on a wand that you give to an enemy is enough to heal you like 20%, I think. Or some ridiculous number like that. So yeah, it is healing though, and healing is really good in this game. Heavy Shot is A, because it is the biggest straight-up damage modifier that doesn't have a real downside. Like, it's more than Bloodlust, and the projectile cannot hurt you. It just makes the projectile slower. And for some projectiles, that doesn't matter, because homing is stagnant in terms of the speed of it. Meaning that 100 heavy shots, your shots will still home in at the exact same speed. No. Just no. I wanna like this spell so bad, but it is so bad. It's the Scatter spell. So all of the Implicate spells I'm also gonna put on the same tier. They're basically all B. What they do is they cast copies of spells, except those spells still cast mana. So the 6, the 5, and the 4, and I guess the 3, they go there. I'm going to put this one in A because it is just a triple shot, and it actually all goes forwards. 2 it can still go here though, sadly. And this one actually goes in C tier because it just casts like one behind you, which is not a place where you usually want to shoot your shot. It's bad. Right, Hollow Egg. Hollow Egg is S tier, unfortunately. I don't want to put Hollow Egg in S tier, but I do know that it is absolutely broken. If you've ever seen a speedrun of this game, that is allowing every trick in the game. Hollow Egg lets you beat the game in 5 seconds. I'm not joking, look it up. Like, Noita Hollow Egg speedrun. It's because when you start a new game, the game, like if you actually hit start new game from a run that you're currently in, the game tries to reset everything, but the game does not reset Hollow Eggs. This is my understanding of the situation. And of course, it doesn't load them in until you're actually in the biomes where they would spawn. However, one of the biomes that is constantly always loaded in is Call Me Silma's lair, aka where the Sampo is. Meaning that immediately the Hollow Egg can break and you can put a teleport bolt in it and you'll instantly be teleported there. And then you can, like, put a portal in that leads to the surface. And the portal to the surface is done with the notes. So, yeah. It's stupid. You can use it to save yourself from polymorphine as well by dropping, like, something that has, like, a big chunk of soil or something like that, something to protect you, or a circle of shielding. It's tricky. Holy Bomb and Giga Holy Bomb. I like the theming of them, but it's just a big explosion. It's nice, I guess, but yeah. Holy Lance, I don't like Holy Lance. It does holy damage, and it can hurt you, and you are weak to holy damage. Return Bolt. No, this isn't Return Bolt, this is Homebringer Teleport Bolt. That goes in D tier. It's not useful. You want to be moving yourself around in this game, not moving enemies towards you. With the exception of, like, Taveri, when you're trying to get him to the tower. But that's about it. Homing. Homing goes in S tier because it's homing. It's the original homing, it is the best homing. It costs, like, the most, but it's worth every single penny. I'm gonna do short homing next. Short homing is A. It's homing, but the range is less. Sometimes that's good. Usually it's not as good as just having normal homing. It's also a lot cheaper though. It's like 40 mana versus 90. Or 70, something like that. Accelerative homing is nice with specific things like clouds and bouncy bursts. Otherwise, if it didn't have that synergy, it'd be going in B tier because it's not as good. And this is the teleport on top of enemy if it's in range, which is also in A tier. It's pretty good. It's useful for basic shots as well. This is wand homing. It's not useful. I don't understand the point of this spell, really. It goes towards wands. I guess it can help you find wands, but, like, why? I don't know. Hookshot. It's not as good as a teleport bolt. Horizontal path. It's very similar to linear arc here, except it's worse. But it is a damage modifier, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes you also want to lock to horizontal. While I'm there, put this in A tier. It's how you create long-range teleport wands as well. It adds damage. It's pretty good. Ice Bolt. It's like Firebolt, but bad as well. Central Cast. Long-range teleport wand thing. I don't understand it. Knockback. I guess someone creative can come up with a use for knockback, but not me. So, LARPer spells. I'm gonna put all the LARPers in B, because they are all useful with certain things. Mostly with canisters and bombs, but, like, they're fun, regardless. Except for our Orbit Larper. Orbit Larper is going to go a tier above. If I can find it. Okay, it's in the orbitals. Because, yeah, you stick this on a black hole, it digs really easily. That's about it. Lava to blood is very useful, because lava is bad and blood is good. That's about it. You can use it to dry up the lava lake. I put it in A, but if you're going to hell, you probably have enough health to just tank it. Reduce lifetime and increase lifetime are both A for what they do. They're both really good. And, yeah, you can make wisps with them. Light. Light is B tier because early game you can use it to explore the dark caverns. I don't care what you say, I don't care if you've memorized the layout of the dark caves for every possible setup. Light is very good for actually seeing where you're going in places like the magical temple. Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt is solid damage at the start of the game. You won't be using this forever, but it is very good for when you get it. Lightning Thrower and Personal Lightning Thrower, however, are D tier because they will get you killed. Uncontrollable. Garbage. Pinpoint of Light. It's good. It's nice explosive damage. It does come in a bit late, but for what it is, it's pretty strong. You may notice it as the riposte of the creep enemies, the white ones that spawn in the Temple of the Art. And that hurts, and you can have that for yourself. Concentrated Light can also go in B. It's pretty good. It does good effects for your wand, makes it speedier. Intense Concentrated Light isn't as good, though. Do some funny builds with it, though. Light Shot. Projectile goes faster, does less damage. It's good for anything that is basically just a payload. Not a payload, a transportation for your payload. Like a Spark Bolt with trigger. Just put this on it. Liquid Detonation. Meh. I mean, it removes certain liquids. It can be useful. Long range cast is nice because it allows you to throw things away from you. Luminous Drill goes in A. Luminous Drill with timer goes in C. Because this costs 3 times the mana cost of this one, and they both have the same effect. And this one you cannot use with spell wrapping. Like, if I had a torch, for instance, on my wand, like, where's torch? Here, just a torch. Let's do torch while we're here then. Torch costs nothing, but it takes up a spell slot and tries to get cast, so you can use it to wand wrap. If I had a wand that had a recharge time of 34, because this removes 17, I could have this and then torch, and it would say, okay, minus 17, and then torch, but the spell wraps, so it casts drill again, so it takes another 17 off. So that means that it goes really, really fast. By the way, torch is going in C tier because it's a light source, but it is not just generally as good as light, because you can spell wrap with light as well. It costs 1 mana, and it can set you on fire. And in that vein, electric torch goes in D tier because it gets you killed. It got me killed on my last run. It's because I tried to switch my teleport wand and I accidentally pressed the wrong button. That's a me issue then. Magic Arrow. It's not great. Magic Arrow with timer, it's not great. Magic Arrow with trigger. That's a bit better. It's just, fine. Magic Bolt goes... I'd say that goes in B. Same with this one. It's actually pretty good damage, and it can dig. So yeah, it's pretty nice. Magic Missile... You know what, these all go in C tier. They're fine, they're nothing special. Honestly, I do think that Giant Firebolt is better than Giant Magic Missile as well. Fight me. Magic Guards, they're like shields, but they like aren't as good. Yeah, they're not awful though. Add mana, A tier. Easy. Just adding mana to your spells, making them cheaper is a lot. Really good. Meteor, so... Magic Missile kills enemies, like, with projectile damage and explosion. Meteor can't. but the trade-off is that Meteor damages the soul of your opponent. Okay, that joke was like really forced, that Meteor isn't that good. Meteoricide is even worse. Missile. Missile is actually pretty good. It has very high damage potential. The clouds all go in B because they can be used for death clouds. Yes, I am putting them all in the same tier. Even though, if you want to, like, split hairs as to what's better, Slime is the best, then is Spirits. Spirits is worse because it has less duration. And then Sludge, because Sludge is a negative effect on you if it hits you. And then Blood, because Blood has limited casts. Moo is nice because it copies all modifiers. It's worse than Spell Duplication, but copying all modifiers is really good. Right, double casts. Okay, let's just do all the double casts. So, these are all basic for wand building. They all go in B, basically. I'll put 8 casts in A, actually, because 8... Actually, you know what? By the time you have 8 casts, you don't need 8 casts, so they can all just go in B. This one goes in C tier because it costs, it has limited uses, which makes it inherently worse. Bifurcated goes in D, same with trifurcated, because they add way too much spread. Like, I already don't like these two because of how much spread they give. Quad shot is fine, because at that point, like, if you're shooting 4 shots, having a little spread on them is good, because you don't want it all in the same place. I will give Pentagon and, Septagon... No, it's Hexagon. What the hell is Septagon? Oh, that's not a word. I will give them slack, because when you're casting 6 spells... doesn't matter really, like you're most likely payloading clouds. These both go in D tier because you don't want to shoot behind you. Necromancy has never actually been useful. So the notes. I do know they have inherent piercing, but I have personally never managed to actually get the notes working. Like, to me, the notes are... They have potential, but I think that the only times I've ever had them are runs where I've never found, like, a duration or a lifetime up, so I can actually, like, get them working really well. Like, I know they have potential to be really good, so I'm gonna put them in B tier. They make alright Death Clouds, I guess. You may notice I'm saying Death Cloud a lot, but Death Cloud is literally just one of the most powerful things you can do in this game. For anything that isn't a boss, and even then, certain bosses fall to the might of the mighty Death Cloud. Like, have you ever fought Kivi with a Death Cloud? It works. Nuke and Giga Nuke both get you killed. A lot. But they do some pretty good damage, so they can go there. Octagonal Bundle. This gets you killed a lot, and is not particularly good. It flies in every direction. Oil goes in B, thanks to the crit on oily trick. Oil Cloud, C tier. It's not particularly good. And, like, Blood Cloud at least gives you blood, so you can do that to yourself. Omega, I feel like Omega, like the other, like, Greek words, just do better. Casting every spell on your wand is usually not what you want to do. Like, you just want the modifiers and cast them on your, spells like Moo. I guess it does work with, black holes, but then again, Alpha and Gamma do the same thing, but cost a whole lot less. Orbit. Orbit's not good. You know what, while we're here, True Orbit, however. True Orbit is good. I'll put that in B tier. Because it actually makes it orbit around you. Who would have guessed that would have been good? So Fireball Orbit is very good for digging early game. It does set you on fire a bunch though. Nuke Orbit is a very bad decision. Plasma Beam Orbit is very good. You can kill Savage and Tuntija with it, because it's a Plasma Beam. And that's all that matters to me. Sawblade Orbit, not very good, but it's better than Nukes. Petrify! I've never actually seen this thing work. Has anyone seen this thing work? No? Okay. It's going in D tier. There's gonna be like a hardcore Petrify fan in the comments saying, no, it's great. Phasing Arc isn't good. I'm gonna put it in C. I do know that there are some parallel world travel ones that use it, so it's not going in D. Phi, you know what, I'm actually gonna have to open the wiki because I forget what Phi does. Phi is one that I don't bother to remember. A copy of every projectile type spell in the current wand. I guess it's useful, I guess. It's like, you cast all the modifiers on this, and then you cast one reload, but that's more so a benefit of one reload than it is it, and quite frankly, you'd just rather have like a quad cast to actually cast the spells that you have, or something like that. Yeah, not particularly great. Piercing is S tier. It makes deadly heal you fully, and deal very little damage. You stick it on, add like a trigger spell, and it casts the payload multiple times. It's busted. Sorry if I forget to cut these out, I'm drinking, so that I don't fry my vocal cords. Not too much left. Ping Pong Path. It's actually pretty good. It turns Luminous Drill into a very long-range damage weapon. Yeah, it's nice. Plasma Beam. These aren't good, but they kill Savage and Tunteja very easily, and they also kill High Alchemist very easily. And Plasma Beam Cutter can go in A because it's a very strong digging tool. Like, a single... like, anything with a timer, or like a trigger if you aim correctly, and a Plasma Beam just kills Savage and Tunteja. Like, it's so easy. Plasma Beam Amplifier is too situational to actually do anything. And Plasma Beam Thrower is fucking awful. I don't care if it kills Savage and Tunteja, because it's, like, it actually isn't copied. So on platform, you use this with Wisps to make permanent ground, so it's fine, but that's really it. And while I'm here, the wall variant is going to go in one tier lower, so C tier. Because walls are not as good as ground. Like, yeah, you can stand on both of them, but one of them is made for standing. Pollen is nice, because it's automatically homing, so you can make it into a Death Cloud. It does some decent damage. I put it in A tier, because it does spawn early on. Nah, it is a bit slow. So yeah. I forgot the name of the spell, but it turns you into a sheep. It's not very good. It's poor man's cessation, but it's not completely useless, because you can use it with perk duplication. Chain spell! It's used for making wisps. That's about it. And you can use it to like cast 1,000,000 propane tanks or something like that. Decelerating shot is not very good. I don't think I've ever wanted this actually on a spell. Drilling shot, however, is really good. I put this on my death clouds, or actually just my damage wands in general if they have enough lifetime. They just go through the ground and kill everything. Yeah, really nice. Earthquake shot is bad because it's an earthquake. Electric charge is fine because it's damage, but it's electricity, which can hurt you because it electrifies your wands. Explosion is a really good modifier because it's explosion damage and it amplifies the damage of your explosions. Fizzle shot, I don't like this. It buffs your stats of the wand, but it means that your things have a chance to fail. Freezing charge is really good. It lets you kill spiders, and it freezes enemies, so double benefit. Really nice. I'm tempted to put it in A, but, like, it creates particles of snow, and if you're running a super god build, it can crash the game because it spawns too much snow. No joke, that happened to me once. This is a polymorph field, isn't it? You know what, I'm opening the wiki again. No, it's gravity field. Attracted towards its center. It's I mean, it's a static projectile, so I never see it, so, yeah, gets in C. Usually the personal gravity field is better. Matter Eater. Matter Eater is fine. The problem is that it has limited casts and it doesn't dig through Cursed Rock. So it's not as good as you think. Like, I once had this and always cast a Matter Eater wand, and I was like, oh yes, I can grab the Wand of Swiftness at the start of the game. But no, it can't dig through Cursed Rock, so you can't actually do that. Disappointed. Nola is really good. It's used in teleport wands, like late game. You can cast it with Omega Black Hole, and it sets its duration to 0, so it just digs. And that's it, and you're pretty much safe. Shielded projectiles is surprisingly okay. It does slow them down, but you can counteract that with some speed-ups. Lightning Field. It's just like the Circle of fucking Lightning, except it's another one. And this is the Polymorph one as well, so they're all going in there as well, much like their other counterparts. Propane Tank. Insane damage, but it is a propane tank, and the gas can easily hurt you. Quantum Split, this is... I used to think this was so good, but it isn't. It's actually a really, really bad thing, because, like, if you stick it on something like a black hole, for instance, and you try to add, like, a speed up to the black hole, or, like, extra lifetime, when the other black holes disappear, the original one does. So you do not get the benefit of those modifiers. It's bad. Don't use it. Rain Cloud. It's water. It's useful early game if you want to kill a Stendari. These are the random projectiles. We'll just put all of these in D tier because they're all random. That's a random modifier, that's a random projectile, it's a random static projectile. Static projectile should be in E tier because it can cast a Mega Black Hole. But I'm not that cruel. Boost recharge time goes in A. It's not S tier because Bloodlust does it better. But it's just really good. Recoil. Not terribly useful, but it can be used to make fast travel. Reduce recoil. Kind of the same, except in the opposite way. One refresh goes in A because it's used in a whole bunch of degenerate shit, but on its own it's just nothing. Kind of eliminates the recharge factor on a lot of wands, and there are a lot of wands that have like, 20 casts, but like 5 seconds wand recharge, in which case this is like the godsend for that. This is remove bounce. Who cares? I know these are useful for things, but personally I have never found a single use for these. It skips spells under certain conditions, and like, this is like super gigabrain nerd shit. Like, I have never found a use for these. Return. You'd think Return would be in D, but it's actually in B, because you can like, cast it, and then go into a holy mountain, throw a wand out into the mountain, and then you'll return backwards. So you can use it to like store 5 wands from the last biome in the Holy Mountain before you can easily backtrack. It's really nice. Rock. Rock is B. You can use it with Burst of Air and stuff like that. I know I put Burst of Air in A, but Burst of Air does something on its own, and you can use it to like push the sun. Summon Rock Spirit, aka Smelly Egg as I like to call it. It's kind of like Rock. It does cause trick kills for everything it kills. There's 10 uses, does good damage. It's nice. So these are the sea of things. They just call a sea of whatever material it is. Flammable gas is D, because it's pretty useless. Spirits is not very useful either. Water and oil, they're in C tier because they're just materials. Swamp is also in there as well, but even though you need it to kill Mysterian Mysteri, Master of Masters to get wand homing, it's wand homing. Sea of Lava also isn't particularly good. Sea of Acid is better than them, like if you want to dig out of the Holy Mountain or just nuke an enemy or kill the Forgotten, the skull guy, just cast this. And Sea of Mimicium goes in A tier because you can use it to copy things like Ambrosia, or any other hard-to-find liquids. Yeah, it's nice. This is Zeta. Needing to open the wiki again to remember what Zeta does. Actually, no, I do remember what Zeta does. It casts a random copy of a random spell on a random other wand. It's very situational. You can, in theory, use it to copy spells, like Black Hole, if you have edit wands everywhere and you could just easily swap it out, but no, it's way too situational, man. Alright, apparently I'm an idiot and this is Sigma, not Zeta, but it just casts all static projectiles, so it's the same. You know what? I'm putting Zeta right next to it. Easy. Slime Ball. Not very good. Slithering Path. It is a speed up. It's a very inconsistent one, but it is. Slow and Steady sets the recharge of the wand to 1.5 seconds. Not particularly useful. It could be a whole lot better, but with wand refresh, it's just immediately outclassed once you get that. Spark Bolt! Finally, we get around to the first spell of the game. Spark Bolt is Spark Bolt, and everyone knows what Spark Bolt does. It's C tier. Because it doesn't do particularly anything. Spark Bolt with timer is also going there. Spark Bolt with trigger is going in A, because it's actually one of the best triggers in the game. And Spark Bolt with double trigger, it's better, but not great. But Spark Bolt with trigger, I think this is everyone's go-to, like, trigger spell, unless they have an add trigger. But for what it is and how early you can find it, it can carry you a surprisingly long amount of time. Speed Up. Speed Up is B tier. I like it, but it's not useful for everything. Like, having your projectiles fly faster isn't always useful. But usually it is. Essence to Power is A tier. It is an insane damage up if you have certain things like Square Barrier. That's all I need to say. Speaking of the barriers, let's put them down. They're all B tier. Oh, shoutouts to Cheerio, the creator of this tier list. But yeah, the barriers, they're used for Essence to Power almost exclusively. They're pretty good. So these are the spells 2 things. They turn spells into whatever spells they are. These are Giga Sawblades, by the way. These are random Death Crosses, random Magic Missiles. I think these are just all normal Black Holes, though. Spells to Acid is actually kind of good at just disarming projectiles. I'm going to put that in B, and everything else is pretty much just going to go in C. They aren't particularly useful. You know what, spells to nukes can go in D, it's just too unstable. So both of the spirals are going in D tier, because they suck, man. And Spiral Shot is just trash. Like, Spiral Shot is an unlock. It has limited casts, and it doesn't even do that much damage. Spitterbolt, I'm gonna put Spitterbolt in B, actually, because it's the best damaging, like, spell you can get. Okay, it's not the best damaging, that would be Energy Sphere. But, like, it's a close second. The others are just middling. Like, I don't care if they have timers on them either, they just don't do a great amount. Prickly Spore Pod, good if you want to crash the game, middling otherwise. Reduce Spread, it's fine. Goes in D. Summon Portal. Once you know where the end of everything room is, this isn't actually useful in the slightest. I think actually you can use it to make a parallel world travel bonds though, so I'll put it in C. Summon Takasiva, or Taiksuava, however you want to say it, is useful. I'll put it in B. You can get a lot of modifiers easily by just spawning and killing them with like Piercing, Explosive Shot, or something like that. This is cast at a random enemy, or cast the spell from a random enemy, or the closest enemy. Yeah, it's pretty useful. I don't personally like using it, but it's fine. Next up is Swapper. So Swapper, it's interesting, but it's not exactly useful. Usually when you shoot an enemy with like a teleporting bolt or something like that, you want both of you to go in the same place. but it swaps location. It's not exactly useful. Alright, back to Tau. Yeah, Tau copies the next two spells, which is kind of useful. It's mostly best used for damage modifiers. It's nice and solid. Honestly, it's almost as good as Mu. In fact, it may be better than Mu in some things if you only want to copy a few modifiers. Like, if you copy both a heavy shot and a speed up, it basically cancels it out and just gives you the damage. Yeah, it's fine. Teleport Bolt goes in B tier. It's a good way to get around and is very useful. Short Teleport Bolt, S tier. It is how you move around the game mostly, because the fact that it teleports faster is better. Yeah. Wait, who is this teleport cast? Oh, I don't fucking care. They're all the same to me. There you go, you can go next to them. Tentacle. Tentacle's pretty useful. You can steal items from the Holy Mountain. It does melee damage, so if you add a freezing effect to it, it kills enemies instantly. It can go in B tier. Same with its friend, the other tentacle, the tentacle with the timer. Eldritch Portal can damage you. I don't like it. Same with Tentacular and Personal Tentacular, those can also go there, they're kind of trash. Undercharge. It does a lot of damage, but it only has 3 uses. It's not very useful in that regard. Same with Thundercloud. This is just a static Thundercloud. Like, it doesn't move. You know what? No, you're going in D tier, piece of shit Thundercloud. Tiny Ghost. Tiny Ghost is so forgettable, I forget what it does. So it is not going any higher than D. Explosive Box and Big Explosive Box. They're explosive things, but you need to like set them on fire or just blow them up yourself. And in which case, if you have something else to blow them up, why don't just use the bomb itself to blow things up? All of the touch of spells go in B tier, because just instantly killing certain enemies is good. You may think I would put Touch of Gold higher, because it's infinite, infinite gold if you can get that on like infinite uses. But by the point you do that, it doesn't matter. So yeah. And Touch of Urine can be used to get infinite like healing slowly with Touch of Grass. You know what? That's a good point, Spartan. You might put these in A tier. Alright, Sludge to Acid. This is not particularly useful. Like, if you want to get rid of sludge, you can just use water. Like, it's not that hard to remove. I mean, I guess if you want acid, you can use it. And if acid's been fungal shifted to something useful, yeah, but... yeah. Acid Trail, you can use it to dig out of the Holy Mountain, that's about it. Fire Trail, Bad Gunpowder Trail, Poison Trail, and Rainbow Trail are all insignificant. Water Trail and Oil Trail are a bit better though. You know what, Oil Trail is actually pretty insignificant as well. You know what, same with Fire. We'll put that there. Chaotic Transmutation, it turns liquids to other liquids. It's fine if you really want to get a specific liquid or remove a specific liquid. Like, remove polymorphine. It's fine, I guess. Triplicate Bolt, the Spell of Champions. This is the early game godsend. Put all your good modifiers on this spell because it triples it. Like, Heavy Shot goes from a 44 damage increase to a 132 damage increase. Like, it's crazy. Of course. Actually, you know what? No, there's really no downside. Just like use this spell, it is crazy good. Dormant Crystal, it's fine. Trigger version is, I dare say it's worse, but not enough to be in the D tier. Enemy Vacuum Field, it sucks in enemies. You can use this to keep any like biome loaded in by moving Call Me Silma. That's the main use for this spell, but it is pretty useful. Liquid Vacuum Field, Sucks in liquids, not particularly useful. Powder vacuum field, not useful. Water. Water is used with the old crit on wetness trick. Water to poison is bad. The weakening curses. They can all go in B. They are all damage buffs for certain types. Actually, you know what? Melee can go in C because melee isn't that important. Like, if you're doing melee to enemies, it's usually to shatter them when they're broken. Light hole, basically the same as black hole, except it pushes things away. Giga white hole is a bit safer to use than Giga black hole. And Giga white hole is also easy to use than Giga black hole. I mean, Omega. Worm launcher. I hate this spell. It is awful. Never use this spell. Yeah, it eats away at the ground, but it also has a boomerang effect like the Sawblades. Matisade. It spawns big worms. And those worms, they're just big worms. There's a trick you can use, however, with add trigger, to make it spawn worms that actually give HP, in which case, this can be pretty useful. You can use it to mass increase your HP with heart mages, because you have consistent heart generation. And the final one, All-Seeing Eye. Why is this at the very bottom? Creator must have forgot to put this in the proper area. Actually, didn't I already do All-Seeing Eye? I did. This is a duplicate. Well, you can go next to your friend there. The brothers will judge you. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this tier list. I don't think I need to go over anything, because this seems like the definitive, pretty much what I put anything. I'll probably start kicking myself eventually when someone points out, like, something you put early in the video is, like, worse than something else. Like, you're gonna tell me acid is worse than spark bolt with trigger? And I'm gonna, like, I don't know, kill myself or something. Not literally, but yeah. So, yep, that'll be the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next video I do, whatever that is. But for now, I need to rest my voice. Goodbye.